Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Negotiator and RN. It's been a while videos on nursing issues, but I saw this article and I thought, there's so much to unpack here. So if you haven't seen this article or an article about this article, what are the 15 unhappiest and happiest nursing jobs in America 2023? I want to preface this by saying there's not any research or survey tools cited. I kind of feel like this is totally made up by this author, Donna Reese, but that's okay. I mean, I actually looked through the whole thing. It looks like just opinion, but it is kind of amusing. I would take it with a grain of salt. But let's dive right into this. This is going to be a quick video, and then I'm going to go through it a little bit more. But I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So, sorry about the advertising that is also included in this. So, 15 unhappiest jobs, right? So, one of the things that they cite in this is that some of the unhappy jobs, wait, hold on, are oddly enough, I just want everybody to guess. Just take a guess at top three, right? Before we really get into this. Sorry for all the free advertising for schools that you should never go to. The author talks about are all nurses happy with their jobs? Well, first of all, I just want to say, like, what is happiness? And I feel like using that term happy is minimizing us as nurses and what it takes to be satisfied. I think job satisfaction is a better term to use, but that's okay. We'll go with it. So, are nurses happy with their jobs? So again, the author gives a lot of anecdotal information. There's no research. So 11, she goes into 11 factors that make a nursing job unhappy or happy. Again, are we're not playing with Barbies here, right? I mean, the term happy, unhappy, I never thought of myself, yeah, happy, unhappy is kind of a moment to moment, a day to day thing. But there's so many other adjectives, adverbs that go into describing how we feel, how we experience our role, and what goes into job satisfaction. Are we valued, right? Because happy is kind of like, here's some pizza. Are you happy? Okay, great. Here's a really cheap water bottle. Here's a little pen. Are you happy? All right, good. Get back to work. Get back in the coal mines. Um, so she goes into talk about salary, upward mobility, stress level, flexibility, work life balance. I mean, these are all worthy topics. Coworkers, variety, appreciation, sufficient staffing, empowerment. She started talking about benefits. Apparently, benefits don't matter at all. So, what are the unhappiest nursing jobs in America? So, again, here we go. School nurse. Is anybody else surprised by that? Okay, I did not think school nurse was going to be at the number one of the list. But again, there's no research as far as I could find out. If somebody finds some research on this, please just throw it in, throw the link, something. I looked up the author, 37 years, writing. This is why writing is can be a great lucrative career because you don't have to have anything to back it up, right? Um, so school nurse, right? God loves school nurses, right? I mean, let's just say praise to the school nurses. And I know that they're really stretched thin. So the list goes on. Hospital staff nurse, because of course that couldn't be number one. Although 15% of nurses in hospitals are saying they're not going to continue throughout the year. Whew, that's a lot. Or only, what is it? Only 15% are staying through the year. We'll get into that on another episode. Hospital staff nurse, but then there's also emergency room nurse. Um, okay, we don't really have to describe or explain why that is. So I'll leave that up to the ER nurses and the EMS folks to talk about. Substance abuse nurses, correctional nursing. Okay, I can kind of understand corrections nursing. I think it takes a special kind of person who wants to work in that kind of a little bit of a monotony, but then you're also under surveillance the entire time. And the pay is kind of crappy because those jobs have been outsourced primarily. They're no longer often government jobs. Nurse educator, gosh, that sucks. I mean, I was a nurse educator also. Well, here's the one that we're not surprised about, nurse manager, right? Are we surprised about nurse manager? Not at all. Home health nurse? I love doing home health, but just didn't pay very good, but it's very satisfying. It's a good side hustle. But as far as benefits, all that stuff, no, not happening. Insurance physical nurse. So this is a nurse who goes out and does physicals, or somebody comes in and does physicals. I oftentimes those are techs that do that. Actually, I don't really. How many jobs does this? include. If you're an insurance physical nurse, chime in, please. Let me know if you're happy or unhappy. I mean, I'm guessing it's fairly monotonous. There's not any upward mobility, and the pay is probably pretty stationary, just like in home health. So a lot of these jobs you're just not getting any raises. Nursing home RN. I think it's interesting that she used the term nursing home since we don't really use that term. We use LTAC, long-term care, skilled nursing facility, etc. But that's okay. Again, nurse extended care, so it explains about the job, what makes this an unhappy job, right? I don't think we have to go into a lot of detail. I think nurses and skilled nursing facility long-term care nurses, and I'm going to say I'm going to add the LPNs in here. So let's just give a shout out to LPNs and LVNs because them and the CNAs do the brunt of the work in long-term care, although the RN may carry the most responsibility. Public health nurse. I did my rotation in public health. I actually have a public health nurse certificate. I love public health. I thought it was very interesting. But again, these jobs are far and few between. COVID probably just wiped out public health nurses. We don't talk about them very much, but let's give some shout out and praise to public health nurses. If you're a public health nurse, chime in. Camp nurse. Here's another one. I was like, camp nurse. And then I actually went deeper into this and just started reading some horror stories about this and how crazy it is, right? I didn't realize, you know, back in the day, like kids that were really sick, they didn't, one, they weren't even alive, but they didn't go to camp. So it's good that they're, obviously inclusivity is important, but that also requires, that you're going to be a nurse working by yourself out in the Poconos. So with no help, no supplies, and probably no internet, I don't know, right? There's no spare ventilators or, wound vac machines or suction machines out there. Diabetic educator, another one. Now, I haven't seen how many jobs are there that are just specifically diabetic educators. I'd be curious about this. Hospice nurse. So let's get Nurse Penny and Nurse Marks to weigh in on this and any other hospice nurses. I just think hospice is so much about the type of person who does it. And I really enjoy doing end of life care in the hospital. But again, it's not for everybody. So sometimes it's just the right match. But again, it kind of falls in with home health, where are you really ever going to get a raise, upward mobility, benefits, that kind of thing? It's under that similar umbrella, unless you're in a hospital environment. Hospital OR nurse, number 15. Well, okay, we've all heard horror stories if you're a nurse about surgeons throwing things and having temper tantrums. And I think OR it's a special kind of person that has a lot of time, maybe not kids. There's a lot of call involved, irregular schedules, could be long hours. There also conversely could be a lot of call off. So we're going to talk in the next episode about what are the happiest jobs. So now that you know the 15 unhappy, what's left? We'll talk about that more later. Thanks. Tune in. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, do all the things. Check out my podcast. I dropped a new episode recently. It's a great episode. If there's people that you want to hear from or topics that you'd like me to cover, let me know. All right. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you subscribe.